Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Move podcast. Today brought to you by Zwift. As most of y'all loyal listeners and viewers know, I've just been a total curmudgeon when it comes to riding inside. I got to say, they flipped me. Between we do Wednesdays, suffer Sundays, I'm shocked at how much I'm digging it. So everybody that showed up, the thousands of people, we're getting just tons of people on these rides. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody at Zwift. Game changer for me. I told JB this not long ago. An hour for me, at least feels like an hour on Zwift feels like 2 hours on the road. Like it's just get in, get out, totally efficient, bam, bam. So
no downtime when you're
there's no stop signs, no downhills, no, red light, you just got to pedal. Amazing.
Don't forget, I owe somebody $150. So when I was there in Aspen, when you were getting all your Zwift set up, and I bet Bolchka that you would never ride it. But now, like you said, you've become hooked. So I'm quite impressed that you're actually riding it.
Most people try not to remember those things when they owe people $150. You should just conveniently forget. But hey, today's show, we're going to talk about, and we've spent a lot of time thinking about this. We've asked our audience to chime in as well. We're going to cover our men's. We're going to do two shows. So this is the men's show. We're going to cover our men's 2021 highlights, just stuff that as we watch this season unfold, which by the way, I thought was really exciting. Just the stuff that popped up. So you guys ready to jump into this?
Let's do it. And here's what we're going to do. Something special for our members at wedo.team is they're watching this recording live and can vote. So we picked 6 moments, which was not easy to do, right? We picked 6 moments from 2021 season, and our members can go vote on which they thought was their favorite. And then we'll reveal at the end of the show the order which our members chose. All right.
Exactly.
So if you're a member, when you log into the portal, instead of going to the main screen where the newest stuff is, click on the event that says men's highlight show, and you'll see where you can click and vote.
Yeah. And we won't necessarily, we're going to go in an order here, but this is not a ranking for us. So it's really up to y'all to decide 1 through 6.
But we do have some pretty strong opinions on which we think we should make our cases for what we think we're the best or should not be on this list.
Yeah, we usually do. With that, we're never short on strong opinions. I mean, George tries to toe the line a lot and just be a wimp, but we usually like to lay it out.
But it's funny, out of these 6 moments, I know that 3 or 4 of them, a lot of us were on the same page. And actually, when we talked about doing the show, and I asked everybody I knew what their top 5 moments were, and they were very similar to ours, with the exception of 1 or 2, which we might bring up as well during the show. But interestingly enough, most people had similar opinions on the top moments of the year.
Yeah. I don't think these are going to be earth shattering, but it's just fun to cover and talk about. So let's and again, this is not in any particular order, although the first one we'll talk about is super impressive. Wout van Aert winning 3 stages in the Tour, specifically Mont Ventoux, so uphill finish, a very, very difficult uphill finish, a time trial, and a sprint amongst the field. For those who don't really or haven't followed the sport historically, that is almost unheard of. I mean, you just, think about it. Ventoux, a long, hard TT, and a sprint finish against the best sprinters in the world. You just, that's
and a young guy on top of that.
And a young guy with
total experience.
I mean, it really is a moonshot. So that's our first one. Showing some images from that as well. But Johan, this is, and you're you're our professor on this stuff. Just how impressive is that in your opinion?
It's unique. I mean, unique. The only person that I can think of who has done this before is Bernard Hinault. Hinault was able to win bunch sprints. He won on the Champs-Élysées in a bunch sprint. Of course, he won time trials and he won mountain stages. But that's Hinault. That's Van Aert is not normally seen as a guy of that same caliber. Right. And I think it was really impressive that mountain stage he won. Okay. Now you can say he was in a breakaway. True. But, one of the guys he dropped was Alaphilippe. Alaphilippe was there in that breakaway. And then if you look at how little time he lost compared to the favorites when they went last time up Ventoux, that was really impressive. The time trial and then especially the last stage on the Champs-Élysées against Cavendish, that there's nobody else right now in the peloton who can do that. Nobody.
Well, let's talk about also how, not only him, but the whole team pivoted as soon as they lost Roglic. And like you guys mentioned, young rider, but from the second half of the Tour de France on, Wout van Aert was basically unstoppable. Like you said, he won mountains, sprints, time trials. Correct me if I'm wrong, from Chateau Renard, 7K to the top of Ventoux, the last time up, Vingegaard went faster.
Chalet Renard.
Vingegaard went faster than anybody ever went in the last 7K of Ventoux. Over by a minute, faster than anybody. So
wow,
it's not like they were racing slowly up the Ventoux. It was a super aggressive stage. He dropped Alaphilippe. He dropped Kenny Ellison, Mollema. Amazing world-class climbers. So it's incredibly impressive ride.
And now he's untouchable in the cyclocross scene.
Oh, he's so on form right now. Yeah. Have you seen him recently racing cross?
No chain. You guys just playing with people.
I'll add to that too, that the sprint win on the Champs-Élysées was the day after winning the time trial, like just putting in a massive effort.
Yeah.
You think you'd be spent. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he was just in his zone from the second half of the Tour de France on. Think about it, Roglic had not have crashed and dropped out of the race. That could have been a completely different outcome for Wout van Aert. So it's probably the best thing that happened to him was that he was out of the race.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our second one. And we talk about this rider a lot. Mathieu van der Poel. The same vintage, so to speak, as Wout van Aert. They're obviously, tremendous competitors on the cyclocross scene, but they're, these two guys are bringing something to cycling that we just haven't seen in a hot minute. But Van der Poel going, and of course, we've talked a lot about who his father is, who his grandfather is. Guy's blessed with some cycling DNA. Let's be honest. 6 days in yellow, right? Here's a guy who was sort of hedging. Do I do the tour? Do I not? Boom, shows up. How about I rock the yellow jersey for 6 days? How you like me now?
Yeah, I think the 6 days in yellow, that's one thing, but I think the stage that he won, and especially the circumstances, how he won it. If you look, the first two stages were his objective. The first stage, he didn't have the legs. Alaphilippe won that stage. And on top of that, he lost 8 or 12 seconds. So logically, you would think, he cannot get that jersey anymore on the second stage. And he said before, I want to have that jersey to honor my grandfather, Raymond Poulidor, who never wore the yellow jersey in his career. So basically that's, the dream is over. And then if you look at that stage on Mur de Bretagne, he just, beats all the logic of a bike race. He attacks in the second last time over the finish, spends a lot of energy there, gets the bonus seconds, and then on top of that, on the last time he drops everybody, gets again the bonus seconds, wins the stage, and gets that jersey. That for me, it's one of the performances that impressed me the most of the whole year. Actually, that stage of Van der Poel on Mur de Bretagne.
Yeah, I agree, Johan. This is the new generation. These young guys, when they feel good, they do not hold back one bit. When we saw him going for that bonus sprint, we thought, okay, well, there's the bonus sprint. How is he going to possibly recover in a 20K lap and sprint again? But he did it and defied all logic. Like you said, it was incredibly, incredibly impressive to watch.
Well, and that, George, you took the words out of my mouth. This generation that we're watching come up, you pin the number on their back and they're just like, okay, let's go. Like it doesn't our generation, or at least our vibe was, we were way more calculated. And it was like, okay, this is all that matters. I know I'm going to have a number on my back for 45 other days, but they don't matter. These guys, you put the number on their back and they're just like, oh, I guess we're racing. Like it's that's what makes it exciting. That's what the whole season was full of stuff like that. And we're not just talking about Van der Poel and Van Aert. There's a lot of these dudes.
One of the things I think that makes the Van der Poel Tour de France so special is all the emotion that he carries. Like the backstory, for quite some time in bike racing, you don't know their backstory. You don't know what's on the line for them emotionally. And I think we're seeing more and more of that, which I think is great. It's good for the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see him come across the line, 80% of his victories, and he's pretty much laid out, almost passing out. The amount of pain this guy can put himself through is it's insane. So he just puts it all out there, and what he's doing in cycling right now is we have not seen in a long time.
I tell you, that's the only thing. That's my little guy, Max Armstrong, is 12. He doesn't watch a lot of cycling, but that's the only thing he remembers is these guys that like lay down after they cross the finish line. He just walks by and is like, oh, look at this dude. He's just laying down, crying, sweating, bleeding, whatever. He's like, oh, okay. That's all he remembers. But
it's amazing how, first of all, there's these Van der Poel and Van Aert, they're stars, they're idols. My son is also 12 years old, and he's just got into cycling and he just adores. Yeah.
Hey, today's show brought to you by Athletic Brewing. Did you know that 20% of U.S. adults kick off the year with dry January? By the way, I will be part of that 20%. I'm going to clean it up in January. All right. I got a bunch of goals and events in 2022. I'm going to kick it off. You hear me, right, George? Look at you. I see a little sweat developing on the brow. It's like, oh, fuck. LA's going sober for a month. But these guys, they a lot of people love beer. A lot of people love a little buzz, but a lot of people love a craft beer. So if you want to do a month with no alcohol, join me. And it's an amazing tasting craft beer. Bill and the whole team, they've changed the game when it comes to, non-alcoholic craft brew. It's just, it's incredible. It's a beer for the modern adult, as we say. And by the way, watch what it does for your sleep, your recovery, your performance. Everything changes. So I'm excited for it. Head on over to athleticbrewing.com. Use the promo code Lance. That's me, Lance25, athleticbrewing.com. Get going on 2022. All right, let's jump into to number 3. This is a big one. We talked a lot about this one during the tour, and the fun thing is, it looks like there's some updates to this story. But Mark Cavendish, of course, you can only call him a legend. The dude's a legend, right? Ties Eddie Merckx's record for Tour de France stage wins. The guy's a legend. We all sort of sat there on pins and needles to see if he would actually break the record. Didn't have the chance in 2021, but still has to be one of the annual highlights.
Absolutely. Not only that, but just before this tour even started, I remember speaking to Cav like 10 days before the tour, or 2 weeks, where he wasn't even on the team yet. And he was like, I'm not even sure I want to go. I don't think I'm ready. I mean, he only wants to go if he knows he can win. So to see sort of that self-doubt, just before the Tour de France, and come in and win 4 stages and almost break the record of all time was just amazing to watch. And, I hope we see him there again at the Tour. It's not looking likely from what we're seeing in the media. But what an incredible comeback year he had.
And that's that's when he was actually responding to you, correct?
Correct. That's right.
Yeah. So because there were, we were, here he is chasing this record, and we were like, George was getting responses before George did, boom, darkness.
Hey, if I took non-responses personally, I wouldn't be on this show, because you never respond to me either. So it's all good. I get it.
That has been in the news lately. Cavendish getting another 1-year contract, and maybe Johan can shed some light on this. All of you, I don't fully understand, but for a sponsor's perspective, how do you not take this guy to the Tour? Because that was one of the biggest stories of the year. That's why we're talking about it. And I know the Tour goal, you have to put the team together for your main objective, but that's such a big story. You think your sponsors would love it. How do you deny that?
Yeah, well, I mean,
here comes the conspiracy theories, though. Go ahead first, Johan.
I mean, Patrick Lefevre is obviously, he's an old fox, has a really good relationship with his sponsors. And he said it already, Fabio Jakobsen made a great comeback last year, from a situation where he was almost not a cyclist anymore, almost not living anymore. So he wants to give him a chance. But, so much can change from now to the Tour de France. I think it's way too early to say this guy and this guy goes to the Tour and this guy goes not to the Tour. I mean, Cavendish was not a cyclist last year. At this moment last year, he was not a cyclist.
If I remember correctly, you both were very adamant that he was never going to win again, I think. last year at this time.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, we have to cop to that. We were the first to discount or dismiss whether or not he'll win again. So no, that's why it's look.
Johan, I get to what you're saying about Lefebvre being very close to his sponsors, but this is a global story. I mean, Mark Cavendish come back, tying the record with a chance to win it. I don't. How do you not take him back to the Tour de France? I just don't get it. Maybe I don't understand the relationship between Lefebvre and his sponsors, but I understand cycling on the global scale, and it doesn't get any bigger than that. So I just don't see how you can not bring him to the Tour de France.
I think a lot will depend on what we see in the sprints in the early season. And we, of course, we know Cavendish in the Tour de France is a different rider than in other races. So, going off what we saw this year, I mean, I would take him to the Tour, definitely. Lefebvre, on the other hand, has said that he doesn't really care about the record. He only cares about victories. And so has a lot of trust in Jakobsen. 2 sprinters is too much, because they also have Alaphilippe on the team, who needs to do his thing, and they're not going to go for GC. So, I mean, eventually they could take 2 sprinters, but then, who rides for who? And it's going to be interesting. I'm not counting out yet.
Johan.
I'm not counting out that Cavendish is not at the Tour. I'm not counting.
Johan, as a Belgian, the most cycling crazed country in the entire world, you don't care about records? Do the Belgians care about cycling records?
Oh, the Belgians want to protect this record. That's what it is.
Yeah, and now we start tiptoeing into
what's happening.
I mean, let me just first. I know where you're going there, George, but Johan, how close are Lefebvre and Eddy Merckx?
They're close. Very close.
Okay,
very close.
Then I almost don't need to say any more, because knowing Eddie as I do, he cares. He wants that record. He does not want to be in second place. He didn't want to be tied for first.
Every big champion cares about records. They all say, I don't care. But, when their records get broken, it hurts for sure.
We almost don't need to. We almost should just let it sit there, because you guys and gals can figure this out. Mm-hmm. I think there's something to that. And I don't like it, frankly. George?
Yeah, no.
George is looking at us like these guys are crazy.
I've been kind of no, I'm not. I'm actually in agreement. I cannot see how you cannot go all in on breaking that record and making the biggest story in cycling in the last in a long time. To discount it where I don't care about records, it doesn't make sense to me at all.
We'll see when we get closer to the Tour if he's on the team or not. I think he can be. I think he'll be on the team.
Well, Lefebvre will have, if he proves, or he's performing at the highest level and winning stages and other races, and I mean, it kind of has to take him, right? Mm-hmm. Then we can really start to question motivations but if he's at a high level, they got to take him. So,
yeah, well, let's not forget, this season he went because Sam Bennett got injured, and he was on a decent level, not on a super high level, because the races he had won were secondary races, except I guess that one stage he won in the Tour of Belgium. There was quite some big sprinters there. I mean, it's not going to be easy to select that team. That's for sure.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to remind people real quick to click on and vote. If you're a member at wedo.team, you have a season pass. You can decide. Our listeners and our We Do team members are going to decide of these 6 moments, which was the biggest of the year.
Yeah, because we're not ranking them. We're just laying them out there. I think we all in our minds probably have one that sticks out the most, but it's up to you guys and gals to pick your top highlight. All right, number 4. And this one was met with quite a bit of controversy and dissension amongst the ranks here on the Move team, and we'll break that down. But I'm in the camp of it has to be a highlight. It was too big of a story. This was if there was one moment in cycling this year that was a global news story, it was this one. So it has to be a highlight. As unfortunate and as quasi dumb as it was, it just has to be a highlight. It was worldwide news. And that was this lady standing in the road with the Opi-Omi sign, early stages of the tour, causes a mass pile up and frankly ended the race for a lot of guys. Dinged them up, hurt them, knocked them out of the race. It was a huge story. And we see this all too often in cycling. People just don't understand how close the riders are. They don't understand how fast they're going. They don't understand how hard it is to react with her back to the peloton with a fucking sign, that whatever that sign meant or said, and then splits. And then it's like a full APB put out in France to find this person. Then they were going to put her in prison. And I think at the end of the day, they fined her $1,500, gave her a little probation. But let's break this down, because I know a couple of us here just don't feel like this needs to be. And of course, the members are going to tell us what they think. I'm in the camp of like, it was such a big story and so unfortunate, and also a learning moment. Like anybody that wants to stand on the side of the Tour de France or any bike race, great. We so appreciate that. That's what the sport's about. Just get out of the way.
Yeah, I agree. That brought a lot of attention to, spectators on the side of the road, although we see it every year. Of course, this year was the worst we've probably ever seen. But when you got somebody like 50 Cent talking about the Tour de France, we got to pay attention to this sort of story, good or bad. It brought a lot of attention to the tour. And like you said, Lance, hopefully, spectators, when they go next year, they'll have that in mind, that they'll try to get out of the way. But we've seen it throughout our career. We see it every year. And unfortunately, this was the worst we've probably ever seen.
I know, before Johan goes off, which I can tell he's brewing there, I'll add to this. It was like nothing we had ever seen. You point out that 50 Cent posted about it. Every news outlet in the U.S. who does not cover the Tour de France was talking about it. I mean, it was just massive. And keep in mind, it's the first day of the tour. If you're French or Belgian, I mean, you're following the tour. You're excited for it to start. In America, a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, the tour's going on, and you're like a week into it, right? Especially if there's not an American in contention, we're not paying attention. But this was everywhere. Everyone I knew was asking me, probably the same for you guys. Everyone was asking you about it. People who don't pay attention to cycling were paying attention.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm making a case that it was a big moment, an unfortunate one, like Lance said, but a big moment.
Yeah. I agree. It was a global news story, but the fact that we've seen this so many times already in the past makes me think that this is not a highlight of the year. We're going to see it again. I mean, it's not going to change. The nature of cycling is that it's on the open road. It's impossible to fence the whole course. There's spectators everywhere. Cell phones are out more and more. Everybody wants, instead of watching the race, they want to have a picture taken with the peloton in the background. This is going to happen again. This is inevitable. Yeah.
And you're right. And we will see more of this, but hopefully this was a big enough story that at least some people were out there with baby strollers, dogs. Having 18 rosés all day long, just like, it's a very serious issue, but I put it in, and it's not a highlight either, by the way. It's not a highlight. It's a low light.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've all been in that peloton, and different eras, and we all know what it feels like through those walls of people, and how many times it's so close. In the mountains, they can touch you, they can hit you, they run next to you, they pull beer on you, whatever. That's also what contributes, in my opinion, to the romance of cycling. Yeah, that basically you can be so close up. Of course, these people who are running there, some of them in their Borat tanga, they're idiots. But at the end of the day, that's what makes cycling so special.
Oh, a lot of people watch the race on TV, and they see those spectators tapping you on the back. And the biggest question I always got was like, what are you thinking when someone's running and screaming in your ear? Well, you're not. You're so focused in what you're doing. You're going so hard that I know, Lance, you were the expert. You never even flinched. Like, you just don't expect them yeah, they might touch you, they might scream in your ear, but you don't expect them to get in your way. And it rarely, unfortunately, it happens. And we saw what happened this year. We've seen it on Alpe d'Huez with Guarini. I mean, there's moments like that are, catastrophic for the cyclists, but usually that doesn't happen. And when they're running next to you, you're not expecting them to get in your way. Although it could be annoying, but you're so focused on your effort that you're doing that you try not to let it distract you.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to number 5, today's show also brought to you by Athletic Greens. I don't know if you guys noticed me sipping. So I start my day every day with Athletic Greens. It's just the simplest way to get all of these vitamins and nutrients into my body. 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens. It's all right here. And by the way, they weren't happy with the first iteration. I think they reiterated the ingredients like 50 plus times. Like, these guys and gals over there are all about human performance. Also just rad people, right? Just in terms of the give back, they donate a significant amount of money for efforts to preserve the rainforest. Obviously, a place like that is responsible for producing things that are so great for us. The other thing is gut health. I mean, I think we're going to start to see moving forward, not just in 2022, but forever, the gut is going to prove to be a place where tons of innovation comes from, tons of research, tons of analysis of our gut. Athletic Greens, man, they just nail it. So whether it's performance, recovery, gut health, or just supporting people that are rad, check this out. I got so as much as I'm on the road, I got these travel packs. So I just instead of taking my big bowl like I have at home here, I take the travel pack every morning, bam, throw in a bottle of water. Game changer. All right, let's make it easy. Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/themove. That's athleticgreens.com/themove to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. I'm telling you. And by the way, I talked to a lot of smart people in this space. And one example in particular is Peter Attia. He just tell you that's all you need. 1 pack in the morning, 1 pack at night, boom, see you in the douches.
I'm hooked on it too, Lance. I got a bunch of my friends on it, travel with it. It's definitely become a part of my daily routine. Psyched to have them on board.
Yep. All right. Number 5. Let's see here. Of course, this is the kid's just so impressive. And I think we're going to see a lot more of what we've seen the last 2 years. Tadej Pogacar winning his second Tour de France in commanding style. What can the kid not do? Another one of these kids that when you put the number on his back, he just races like that. I don't know if that's a youth thing or like, how do they get away with it? But man, this kid's a bike racer and just dominated the Tour. And we'll probably see a lot more of this if I had to guess.
And not only the Tour, Lance, I think that's what the most impressive. Right. He starts by winning Tirreno Adriatico in spectacular fashion.
And can I just add something right quick? Which winning Tirreno, that's like a chapter out of Who Cares? Okay. It's not, this is my point. Like, slap the number on him. You're doing, I get it. The race has been around a long time. It's preparation for Le Mans, San Remo. A lot of Italians care about, but in the grand scheme, doesn't matter that much. But boom, put the number on his back and he's racing.
But then after that, he wins the Liège-Bastogne-Liège Monument, wins the Tour, gets on holiday a little bit, then comes back, rides the Olympics, not great, but okay. And then he wins the Tour of Lombardy, by far the strongest guy. I mean, all year long, seeing his interview at their training camp now, that he's going to do 2 Grand Tours next year. He's going to do the Tour and the Vuelta. I mean, he's a bike rider, that guy. Winning 2 times in a row, and this year a lot stronger than last year, in my opinion. Especially that first mountain stage, into Le Grand Bornand. He didn't win the stage, but the way he basically, killed the Tour de France there, killed his opponents, it was game over.
It was another level.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about how good he is, how dominant he's been, but we have seen cracks in the team up until now. Now, what we're seeing is the team is doubling down and hiring some of the best climbers in the entire world and the best classic riders to kind of navigate them throughout the first weeks. I mean, what we're seeing now, the team's going to be even much stronger than they were last year. So it's going to be hard to knock him off the top step, I think.
That's a good point you make, George, because historically you'd see one or two teams with the big budget. You know, Sky had everything and you couldn't compete with that. And just, you know, one man making another team pony up and spend money to compete at that level is like changing the sport.
Yeah. Let me, I wonder what it's like when the Sheik's over. And by the way, Sheik Taknoun, who's one of the main family members there, is a huge cyclist. This guy loves cycling, loves human performance. But like a rattle in the piggy bank. Hang on. Can we afford another guy to support? Okay. I think we can. Like that piggy bank's big. They rattle that piggy bank. It makes a lot of noise.
Yeah. We talk about budgets of teams. I mean, some of these top 2-3 teams, they don't really have budgets. There's no budget. Rider that might be able to come, pay him what he needs to be paid.
Yeah, Ineos is the same thing. You know, there's no budget there. But yeah, I agree, George. They have a very strong team for next year. So you know that was where the opponents of Pogacar were hoping to find a little weakness, but that story's over.
No, this like it's a 3-week race. Anything can happen. And but I think the kid has established or showed that he has the head to continue to be a consistent champion, right? But now there's a lot of other things that can happen. Other people can come up, that can have bad luck, but I think he's proven just in 2 years that he has the maturity and the responsibility to be a long-term champ.
Would you guys agree or disagree that in the current era of cycling, it's more or less difficult to dominate like this? I think we keep talking about all the new upcoming talent and how the depth of it. So I would make a case that it's even harder to get the back-to-back Tour de France wins.
Yeah. Can't disagree with that.
The competition is a lot, it's a lot broader. There's a lot of good guys. I think it's right. It's more difficult to dominate this in this time.
I would agree. And that's why I think we're seeing these guys like the UAE really doubling down on not only their climbers, but their classics riders. Because it's not only about being the strongest climber, as we know, it's getting through that first week of the Tour de France as safe as possible. And how do you do that? With guys that really know how to navigate through the peloton. And they're doing a great job, and people that they're picking up.
You know, and I just realized, because I keep talking about 6 things that we picked out, we actually have 7. It's a good number. that was I don't even think
I said 6. I think I threw out 6.
I think we've been saying 6. I'm sitting here going, have I forgotten to count?
We have 7.
Yeah,
we have 7.
Yeah, Johan pointed out a week or 2 ago. He's like, "How do you not add one?" Which will be our last one. We'll get to that.
Yeah, and I like that one. All right, number 6. Primož Roglic winning his 3rd Vuelta. I think it's one thing to win a 3rd Vuelta, but just the toughness and the tenacity of this guy with the bad luck at the Tour. And by the way, recovering from the Tour, winning the Olympic gold medal in the time trial, but it just shows such a grit to come back for yet another 3-week Tour after all this bad luck. And again, to this main theme here, like you throw a number on this dude's back and he's just racing. Like it's, I don't think we can really explain enough just how difficult it is more than anything, just mentally, to rally mentally and say, all right, I'm going to go do 3 weeks in Spain and go for the win. I mean, he's incredibly tough.
Yeah, and the level he was on in the Vuelta was incredible. I mean that level. I mean, it would be interesting to see Roglic with the level he had at the Vuelta. He would most likely have had the same in the Tour. I think he was the only one who could stay close to Pogacar. At the same time, though, it's kind of sad to see. Realistically, Roglic is going to have a very, very hard time to win once the Tour de France in his career.
Correct.
It's possible, but man, Pogacar is still going to improve. That's the bad news for all the competitors. He's still going to get better.
There's 2 things to point out there. I mean, like you said, Lance, the guy's a mental freak. I mean, to be able to bounce back from the adversities that he's gone through over the last couple of years, and be able and just win the races like the Olympics and the Vuelta. But not only that, he keeps saying like he's not obsessed with winning the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. Maybe it's just a media thing, but he's saying he wants to be known as a fighter. Well, he is the biggest fighter in cycling.
We got that. We're going to give him that one right now, forever.
I feel like the fact that he crashed out of the Tour, we missed a big fight because maybe he wasn't on the level of Pogacar, but the team certainly was, and perhaps even a higher level than Pogacar's team. So think about all the different tactical battles we missed out with losing Roglic in the Tour de France. So I personally am very excited to hopefully see him come back to next year's Tour de France at the same level or better and watching that battle unfold.
And also like so many of these guys we touched on, just an incredible team. Like he has, amazing support, whether it's Van Aert. I mean, who would have thought we were talking about some guy named Jonas Vingegaard 2 years ago? We didn't even know who this guy was. Look, boom. What a guy. Then
and lost one of his right-hand man to
Sepp Kuss. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. So now we're seeing George Bennett going over to Pogacar's team. So there's a lot of, moving pieces, but still those teams are going to be battling out, and then of course we have Ineos in there as well. I think it's setting up for a huge battle next year.
And some changes at Ineos. I saw the headline the other day. Maybe more, Johan, that I guess Dave Brailsford, he'd been sort of hinting that he was going to step aside, step down, change his role, be less full-time. Looks like there's, and I guess because just for some health reasons, which that always sucks, but it's going to be interesting to see with that budget and with that history and the pedigree of that team, just how the next 2-3 years unfold. I don't know.
Yeah, but the difficulty nowadays is no matter how big your budget is, there's only that many really good top guys,
right?
And it's strange to say, but like a guy like Bernal, who won the Tour three years ago, all of a sudden it's like, everybody was saying, oh yeah, he's young and he's going to win 3 or 4. Then all of a sudden Pogacar shows up and Bernal is like, okay, we're all thinking about Bernal, if he can win if something goes wrong with Pogacar. So yeah, but
I think my line at the time was anybody that wants to, and I remember this vividly, anybody that wants to win the Tour the next 3 or 4 years might ought to find a different job. Like this is the way we were talking about Bernal. Yeah. It was that dominant. Yeah. He was that young. He had that team. And if you just said, okay, well, what about Tadej Pogacar? We'd have been like, who? Who's that? Like, so it's going to take another up and comer like that to unseat. I mean, oh God, we get held accountable for the shit we say. Dang it.
Hey, that doesn't mean we could have another total surprise. Probably somebody that's on Johan's radar right now that we haven't mentioned.
No, he's not yet. Not yet. No.
Okay.
Pull out that crystal ball you seem to have.
There's not anybody right now who to challenge Pogacar from the young guys.
Well, Johan, even Bernal at his best, and then Roglic at his best. I mean, yes, you think Pogacar is most likely stronger, but I'm still personally excited to see that potential battle happen.
It is possible. I mean, he's beatable. He is definitely beatable, and every year is different. The thing is, Pogacar starts to get more and more confidence and is still improving.
Right.
And his team getting stronger. So not looking that good for the rest.
Okay. Before we get to the 7th, the final one, so just quickly there on the Ineos theme, Johan, and I don't know the answer to this. So I'm asking, I'm curious. Is Tom Pidcock the kind of rider that can develop? And I'm not talking about the Giro or the Vuelta. I'm talking about the Tour de France. Is he well-rounded enough? And does he have the skills to win a yellow jersey?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think so. I mean, he's a huge talent. He won the Giro in under 23. It's difficult to find a harder race than this one. So he does have the climbing skills. He's on a great team. I think it's a matter of, does he feel like he has a chance? I mean, I personally think he can be up there. Now, to beat Pogacar is another story, but that's another guy who can do everything.
Yeah,
at least he can climb. Yeah,
and you know what? He's not even focused on Grand Tour. I mean, he did the Vuelta this year basically for training. His focus has been the Olympics and mountain biking, cyclocross, one-day races. And I think starting from here on out, he's going to start taking a look at the Grand Tours, perhaps the Giro. I think he's definitely a contender for the Grand Tours without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. And Johan, a year ago, you couldn't stop talking about Remco and Evenepoel. We'll see how this is another, there's these,
but that's the thing. I mean, there you see how fast it evolves. Okay. Yes. Remco had a lot of bad luck. He had this terrible crash in in Tour of Lombardy. And then, had some complications in the recovery, but it's all of a sudden we're not talking about Remco Evenepoel anymore as a Grand Tour contender.
No.
He's, in 2022, he's going to do the Vuelta as like his first Grand Tour with a proper preparation, because I think the Giro of this year was not, I mean, obviously he was not completely ready for it with a lack of preparation. But I think that guy definitely has the qualities to win a Grand Tour.
Another one you put the number on and they just go. Okay. Let's last but not least, number 7. Julian Alaphilippe, back-to-back world championships. And I remember it also very vividly, sitting in Mallorca with the whole crew of folks watching him just, I mean, what a dominating performance. I mean, it was, he just toyed with that field, and it was obviously perfect course for him. He knew the course inside and out, super punchy, but still tons of vert. I mean, he was a men amongst boys.
It was like he was in a different race, such a dominance. Rarely seen, in a world championships. Everybody's at the highest level there, and a course that was really accessible for a lot of the favorites, and then be so dominant and ride away from them. Yeah. And 2 times in a row, world champion. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
Like Johan, like you said, I mean, lots of times world championships have a real distinctive climb. And what happens when you have a really hard climb on a circuit that you're doing 15 times? Typically the first 100 kilometers is kind of slow. Breakaway goes, and the favorites kind of start riding slowly. They keep the breakaway with them. I mean, apparently this year's World Championships, they started racing with 200 kilometers to go, full gas. I mean, I had a conversation with Pitcock. We rode together in a charity ride, and he was saying with 200 kilometers to go, it was full gas racing.
Here we go.
Think about that for the World Championships. It's just we haven't seen a World Championships that hard, and perhaps because it wasn't the typical, same circuit 15 times. It was a lot of different changes in circuit, and then you get to the final one big lap and get to the front of circuit. It was very, very aggressive racing.
Hey, next time you're chumming down with Tom Pitcock, name dropper, ask him to ask Cavendish to finally respond to you. We got questions primarily about this home burglary. I want to know how freaky that shit was. Like,
a
couple dudes running in the middle of the night with knives, like with your family there. That's a big story.
Yeah.
But how was it? But seriously, how was Pitcock? Is a sweet kid?
Yeah, really super nice kid. Very humble. I spoke with his agent a bunch too. Who's your friend, Johan, and the kid, just a hard worker. Just very passionate about the bike. Doesn't really care about the glitz.
McQuade.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
McQuade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a real serious guy. Doesn't party. Doesn't care about the glitz and glamour. Just loves the hard work. I like him. He's a really nice kid.
I've heard he partied quite a bit after the Olympics, though.
I'm not sure. I heard he doesn't party at all.
Okay,
but,
that's too bad.
He's like a Brady, where he just drinks once a year.
We need to pollute him a little bit, but I tell you, I watched some of these highlight reels from the cross races. The way that kid can ride a bike, like it seems like he's got his eyes closed. It just looks easy. I'm sweating watching some of the stuff he does. I mean, technically just perfect, of course. Won the Olympic mountain bike race as well with just fingers in his nose. So he'll be around for a while. And I think if you're Team Ineos, that's you can't wait for that day. I think they got some stress. JB question, JB2, not JB1. We got some real time voting. Are we going to talk about where it stands right now, or
we're going to reveal the members' votes?
Okay, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'm curious. I have a feeling I know which one wins.
We'll give.
I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, members have one last second to vote here. Don't go to the main page. Click on the event, and you'll see where you can vote. To recap, our highlight suggestions were Wout van Aert with the 3 wins in the Tour, Mathieu van der Poel with 6 days in yellow. Mark Cavendish with the comeback and tying the record. Tour de France wins. The Opi-Omi sign incident. Tadej Pogacar winning the second Tour de France in a row. Primoz Roglic with the third Vuelta. And Julian Alaphilippe with back-to-back world championships.
Don't forget, members, we got the old man riding in 55 minutes at the We Do Wednesdays.
I'll tell you, I've been off. George, are you going to be there on the We Do Wednesday?
No, I took the reins the last 2 weeks. Unless our boss TC makes me do it, I'm probably not going to.
No, you need to be there because the other cool, and I'm getting on my iPad over here, I'm getting tons of notifications from Discord. That's the other cool thing. We're not only just riding with thousands of people on Zwift, but we have this live chat and sort of an AMA style. AMA meaning Ask Me Anything, that Tiff moderates, and we bring folks up, and it's no holds barred. That's cool. But yeah, I gotta get all shammied up, and get ready for my. It's been a couple of weeks. I've been traveling, got a little sick, but I'm ready to get back into it.
All right.
By the way, George, I'm at 8,000 feet. You're at like 400. So it doesn't. Anyway.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. But they just come off a week of skiing, so the legs aren't quite there.
But speaking of that, I know I was kind of joking with you, but before we started recording, but that Instagram post, man, I saw it the other day on the list, cute with the kids and everything. But man, I was like, some bitch is looking old. Like, I don't know if it's just
the angle.
Were you cold?
It was the angle, the lighting angle. I think that made me look old, and I was cold. Yes,
just dry because you're up in the mountains. It's very dry, so the skin gets dried out. But I thought, geez,
I appreciate you pointing that out.
How far they fall.
Thank you.
All right, we are ready for the reveal. These are in order now, according to our members. Thank you for voting. Thank you for participating, and you can also vote on the women's highlights that we'll be doing today. You'll get the notifications if you remember. Coming in at number 7, the sign. Omi.
What?
Number 7.
I was 100% sure that was going to be number 1.
Yeah.
That just shows you what an idiot I am. I was not only was I wrong it's one thing. Okay. It is in second. It's last. I am such a dum-dum.
Coming in at number 6, Julian Alaphilippe, back-to-back worlds. I know. Number 5.
By the way, that was my number 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 5, Tadej Pogacar with the back-to-back Tour de France. I know. George, you're going to love number 1. Let's say that. Number 4, Primoz Roglic with the 3 Vuelta wins. Number 3, Mathieu van der Poel with the 6 days in yellow and other amazing efforts throughout the season. Number 2, which I thought would win, Wout van Aert with the 3 wins in the Tour de France. That leaves Mark Cavendish is our members' favorite highlight of the year.
Well deserved. I mean, the whole story is just, it's incredible. The guy, I said it at the top of the show, the dude is a legend. Like, that's cool. Good for him.
Well, cool. Members, thank you for voting. You can also jump in, and just after we do our Zwift ride today, we're jumping back on with women, which we should maybe use this opportunity to, Lance, you can tell us about the women who are hosting this, and, super excited about that. And it's kicking off more continuous coverage of us covering women's racing.
That's right. Yeah, we're tripling down there. So we're going to sign off here. We'll go do the We Do Wednesday on Zwift. And then jump straight into the women's highlight show with Mari Holden. Let's talk about legends. Okay. Olympic silver medalist, just knows everything about this sport. And our old friend, Allison Tetrick. She's, no filter. So we're going to break down some really cool highlights. I watched a lot of racing on the women's side this year, and I won't say what we're going to talk about. We'll talk about that on the show, but there's some cool stuff. So, and
I'll also add before we wrap, there's a lot of new cool We Do gear in the store at WeDo.team, including that flannel shirt that Lance is
like that, huh? Oh, I'm like a mountain man, but this has got the little We Do little hit right there. It's been a big hit. I think we should have made more, but thanks for everybody for supporting that. So we will see y'all. Anybody that's jumping on Zwift with us, see you over there. Zwift or Discord, and then we'll be back to the women's show.